Welcome back, my Dovii family, to the Daily Grind. This is your host, Ivan Jude Smith, and today we will be discussing about multiple issues that are going on around the world. First, I'd like to go back to my previous video. I had spoken last about, if you can check out the video if those who haven't watched it. It's about top 5 priorities to be a global power. I mentioned about India's next big moves, and I also expressed the need of having 2 groups to be created by India and managed by India. Now I'll tell you why the importance of these 2 groupings. I wish India goes ahead and does something in those terms. Today, my friends, we are having the G7 summit that is taking place in Italy, Bari and Puglia, and it's being hosted by none other than one of my favorite leaders of the world, Giorgia Meloni. And my friends, G7 summit was actually previously the G8. It was founded in 1975, and the member countries were Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, United Kingdom, US, and Russia. In 1998, Russia had joined, and in 2014, they were thrown out of the grouping. So the G8 became the G7. Now, this particular grouping, my friends, is 10% of the world's population, but they have a control of 40% GDP, world contribution, 40% GDP. Now, this is not the only groups. There are many groups that are there which have posed as a challenge to the G7. One is the G20, which is a bigger group. Then we have the BRICS nations, which is seen as a threat by many countries and even groups such as the G7. Now, what are these member countries discussing? They'll be discussing about illegal immigrants, especially from Africa that migrate to Europe and other countries, the member countries. They'll be talking about the Gaza war, the Ukraine war, and they will be discussing about artificial intelligence and even, of course, energy. So these are the areas of discussions that will be taking place at the G7 today. And Giorgia Meloni, the Italy leader, she also invited a few guest countries, which include India, Saudi Arabia, the Vatican City. Pope Francis is also attending. Then we have Jordan, Ukraine, Tunisia, United Arab Emirates, Algeria, Kenya, Turkey, Brazil, and the African Union. So, quite influential countries have been invited for this. Modi is very much over there. He's meeting all the leaders. And yes, he did meet even the Ukrainian president on the sidelines of the G7 summit. What they discuss, we will know in time. But my friends, why is this important? You see, the areas of discussion that they've chosen, apart from the wars that is going on, I can understand the African Union has been invited because it consists of all the African nations as one. And since they're discussing illegal immigrants, the G7 is particularly in concern of the illegal migrants coming from Africa. So it makes sense them inviting the African Union. Can understand Saudi Arabia and the other countries. They'll be discussing energy over there. Now, Pope Francis is also going to speak about artificial intelligence. The world is worried about artificial intelligence. At the same time, they know it is the future. But there has to be some rules and regulations to help us guide artificial intelligence in a more safe way. Because if it goes out of hand, it could be very dangerous. Especially if these high-tech technologies, as we advance, AI is no longer going to be the AI what we know today. You get it? If it falls into the wrong hands, it can be very dangerous. So that is the reason why they will be discussing these things. And one very important thing that they have also mentioned over here is about the electric cars, e-cars from China. Like the US has slapped, I think, 100% tariff on import duties for cars that are coming from China. They have followed suit, and I think they're anywhere between 15 to 35%. China is not going to be happy with this, that's for sure. There is going to be some kind of a backlash, and we will get to know about that too. Now, this was one of the very important discussions that had taken place. Now, another thing, Canada and USA. Now, we all know that China had earlier issued new names of places in Arunachal Pradesh. They gave new names to these places. In short, they claim Arunachal Pradesh as their own. Now, in return to the return of that, now what we got to hear, the Indian government is planning a similar move, and they'll be talking about Tibet. Now, that is something that is going to touch the dragon's nerves, because that is something that they never expect. India has never ever done such things, but now we are also doing tit for tat. Now, what Canada and US have done, they have passed a bill to resolve the Tibet issue. It means people of Tibet have the right to decide where they want to be, what they want to do, things like that. So everything that is going around, China is not going to be happy with the G7 summit, even with this bill being passed and with India's stand. So they're cornering China, and let's see what this leads to. I hope, because with the way things are coming to be, it is edging towards World War III. We can see it. As much as people talk about, let's have peace, love, affection, these things are not taking place right now with the kind of atmosphere and with the kind of, backstabbing that is going around. Now you look at Pakistan. Pakistan is under the IMF bailout package. They have already claimed around $6 to $8 billion from the IMF. Now, the finance minister of Pakistan, his name is Mohammad Aurangzeb. He has declared a 17.6% budget hike in the military expenses. So they were allocated more money for military expenses, which amounts to 6.5 billion. So according to the IMF, 40% more taxes is to be levied on the population. What is going to happen to the population when you are spending so much on your defenses and other things? It's an unrealistic budget, I would feel, for a country that is struggling with debt, literally struggling to survive. Now, my friends, the budget that I mentioned, 17.6, is just the tip of the iceberg. In this, pension, military pension is not included, that is separate. Even the nuclear development that they do, nuclear weapon development, that's a separate budget altogether. I am only talking about the military budget, 17.6%. Now, this is done actually to keep the public in the dark, so they will not know. If they show it all together, this is the expenses that we have, the public's eyes will open. So this is the reason why they don't show it together. They have separate budgets for these areas. So the expenses from the public has been hidden while they're squeezing them out dry. This is what I can see that is happening. And another unfortunate event that has taken place in Kuwait city, where a fire broke out in an apartment building and around 50 migrants were killed. Out of the 50 migrants, 45 were Indians. They lost their lives. Now, it is said that fire safety measures were clearly ignored. These apartments were cram-jammed and the divisions made to accommodate these people living over there together were highly inflammable material used to do so. And what has been highlighted with this incident, apart from the lives that have gone, is the poor working and living condition, not just in Kuwait, but in the Gulf countries. And I think the Indian government should do something about it. Blacklist those companies in the Gulf that don't treat their workers in accordance to the rules and regulations, so that the public is aware and they do not go to such companies until the companies fall in line with the policies. Now, it is said that many people got suffocated and died. Many bodies were so badly burnt, they were burnt beyond recognition. People couldn't go up to the roof to try and save themselves because that was also locked. One man, it is said, he jumped off the 5th floor, and while coming down, he hit a balcony, fell, and he died. On his descent from the 5th floor, when he jumped, he hit one of the balconies and he died. So, it's a very sad thing that has taken place in Kuwait, and our government was swift in acting. We have brought back all the deceased members back to India to their families for the final cremations to take place according to their religious rites that each members follow from different religions. But this is an eye-opener. In fact, I feel because we have so much of foreign remittance that comes in from abroad, I think more than 100+ billion USD comes as remittances only from abroad. Now, each of these countries from where our workers are working, we definitely have our embassies over there. We definitely have hotlines where our population wants to contact the embassy, they can. I feel the embassy should be a little bit more proactive even in ensuring that their citizens are well treated and rules and regulations are followed. Not only by them, but by the companies in which they are working. So many times you hear about cases where frauds have taken place. Frauds in a sense, workers go from here, their passports are taken away. If they are told 8 hours of work, they'll be given 12 hours of work. Sometimes a particular job profile is mentioned and that job profile is not given to them. Something else is given to them. So there are a lot of things that come up. And it is nice, it would be nice rather if these things are looked into. Where companies are blacklisted, those companies that don't follow the rules and regulations, so that when other Indians from here, when they go to work, they can check out the blacklist companies and not apply to them. Apply to the companies that follow the rules and regulations, workers' laws, who treat the workers well. So many lives were lost today. It's a sad story. I pray for their families, family members, as well as their souls. May they rest in peace. So that's it for today, my friends. And see you next time. Take care.